Come on, let's get these likes popping, y'all.
They're liking. They're liking. They're like Mikey. They like it. Okay.
I smashed it. Good job, Ron.
They
Hit
smashed
them
it.
likes, y'all. Let's get this thing
It's at
popping.
107. Okay, come on.
Okay, let's
Let's
do
go.
this.
Let's
All
go.
right, y'all. So, I'm going to give you a really different perspective, and it's not far estranged from what's happening right now. And I got to take you through the whole body of it for you to truly understand where I'm coming from, because I was wrong about Iran, but I was totally right. Iran's doesn't want America to leave Iraq, not because they don't want to miss out on the dollar. Here goes bomb alert right now. You can go and cue them up. Because they don't want to miss out on the euro.
The euro.
Yeah, that's why.
They don't want us to leave because they don't want to miss out on the euro. Explain.
Because the one sole condition with them going back to the negotiating table with getting rid of their whole nuclear program was they had preferential treatment in the European markets. They didn't want preferential treatments all over the markets everywhere. They want preferential treatments all over the European markets. Mm-hmm. So what they were going to do was take those dinar that they had, convert those into euros, which they were not under sanctions other. Spend that money on the free market. Okay. And keep up their ball of terrorism or whatever else they were going to do. A lot of people missed that, but I'm here to tell you that's what was going on. Okay. So let's get back to the bombs. Okay. All right. That was a freebie right there. That was Patreon level intelligence. Now, the United Nations sanctions list just updated the other day, and they went upon freezing 84 members of Iraqi citizens. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually send that link to Miss BB real quick. She can post it in the link. I actually have the list, not just the person's names, but who they are, where they live. Everything that the United Nations has, I have. I got it from a very reliable context. I sent it to her right now. She can post that so you guys can view those names. You can review each name as in parts, as most Iraqis, just like most people of other descents, don't just have one name. People from Iraq seem to have four names, just like some of my friends that are from Mexico have four names. So like, it's very interesting as you go through the report that you see their date of birth, you see their hometown, their political affiliation, their gang affiliation. I just sent her the report. She can see it in a few.
The report. It's out there.
It's out there, so you can go through and you can thumb through yourself. But here goes the document. Iraq issues a list of freezing the funds of 84 people and entities accused of financing terrorism at the request of the council. The Committee of Freezing Terrorist Funds and the Secretary of the Iraqi Council of Ministers issued a list of 84 persons and entities whose funds were frozen on the charges of financing terrorism at the request of the United Nations Security Council. News agency publishes lists of names and the names of entities whose funds are frozen based on what was approved by the Security Council Sanctions Committee regarding ISIS and Al-Qaeda organizational activity, that provisions of anti-money laundering and terrorist financing laws that were adopted by the Terrorist Funds Freezing Committee of Council Ministers in Iraq with its decisions. Now, remember why this point is key and why I'm bringing this up. Maliki was accused recently of funding Hezbollah over in Lebanon. And remember, Lebanon and Iraq are under basically the same plight. The argument there is corrupt system, worthless money, corrupt politicians. Iraq is under the same idea, and Iran is the major influence inside of Lebanon. So in us getting rid of Soleimani, it also helping to liberate Lebanon. Lebanon is a place that has a rich heritage. It's got a great background, and it's been under a bad rap because of its political affiliation. You see what I'm saying? So people got to understand that what's going on in Iraq is mirrored in Lebanon, okay? So as we see the liberation happening, and trust me and believe in this, if you look at any US terrorism.org type websites about United States versus the terrorism in the Middle East, we are winning the battle in the Middle East via terrorism because of our position that we took out the number one gangster there. So when people tell me that, hey, it's bleak, it's this, it's a process. It's not a project. You see what I'm saying? Right. People want to see a project. They want to see completion. It's a process, right? Mm-hmm. We're seeing the process being carried through. That's something people got to understand. Now, the prime minister-elect Lowy said on Wednesday he has put together a cabinet of political independence and called upon Parliament to hold an extraordinary session next week to grant a vote of confidence. Lowy said in televised speech, I have a televised speech. I was looking at it. April and I were looking at it downstairs. He says plain and clear, he will have the cabinet done on the 24th. You know why? Because he said all 23 ministers, and then he said 3 to 5 backups per minister, plus special grades. Over 84 people were submitted. So people are telling me delay. That's absolute crap. There was no delay. Judiciary, that's just like going in front of, I guess that would be like the FBI or the CIA or somebody of some investigative law system, right? And investigating like 90 American citizens to hold positions in like the Senate or the House. So when people say delay, they don't know what they're talking about. There are no delays. It's a process, not a project. Okay? Now, on Tuesday, Iraq had the option that it could be used to compensate for the budget deficit. Pointing at the Minister of Finance said that they had more than one way to source funding for the country in reducing expenses and salaries, which is the last solution. So remember, I told you guys the very last thing any of those Iraqi politicians wanted to see was a diminish in their retirement or in their salary holdings. Now, the budget deficit is supposed to be unrealistic, especially if we know the price of the barrel of oil at a rate of between $60 to $70. Now, that is telling for a couple of reasons, because we know Iraq already had a future project, or excuse me, what do you call that? A perspective that said they projected their oil bearings to be at basically $56 a barrel. Mm-hmm. So now they're saying they're thinking oil is going to hit between $60 to $70 a barrel, which is counterproductive to what we know to be true, because Trump said that he was going to flood the market and keep barrels of oil around $55 to like almost $57 to keep the markets clean, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, the Ministry of Finance said they can invest its idle money where it can be sold to the citizens and benefit for its monies to be held. Now, in that statement, plain and clearly, he says, if oil hit that type of number, basically you can cue up the bomb, because he just said that's the HCL. It is expected that the social unrest will be dealt with through more short-term financial incentives, such as cash transfers, public sector employment, housing programs, and others, in order to calm the anger of the protests. However, the results may not be satisfactory, because creating jobs, generally fighting corruption, and structural reforms will require a much longer time frame. He added that the budget contains an explicit text that allows the Ministry of Finance to sell state property, and private sector can take advantage of that, especially private banks, which will provide the state with substantial revenue. The Ministry of Finance has ability to schedule the loans that Iraq has issued, and the ministry can return the debt of the oil licensing rounds or compensating the oil companies with additional investments. That's called revenue sharing. Revenue sharing amongst oil companies is a dividend. A dividend is only distributed amongst what? Shareholders. Shareholders are what? If it's a national company, that would be the citizens of that state. That is called the HCL. Iraq is rich in a group of idle properties that can supply the state with significant revenues. The idle state. That means they're talking about the whole country's idle, and it can be subjugated by those revenues by oil and gas. Now, notice what I said, oil and gas, not just oil. Okay? Now, another matter concerning the moves of this file is that the government's intention to invest gas into the border fields with Iran, with Kuwait, as well as the efforts of the Ministry of Oil to develop and increase production, which results in achieving self-sufficiency in liquid gas. Bomb, please. You don't understand why, but I'm going to lay it out for you. Because if you look at the thumbnail, it's of a gun that's made out of money. On the outside, it's blue flame. Blue flame represents what? Liquid gas, okay? Iraq has the fifth largest reserve in the world with gas, as the Ministry of Oil confirmed that Iraq's gas reservoirs amount to about 135 billion cubic feet, indicating there are 73 oil fields discovered so far. Just 73, okay? They are well on their way to being more rich in natural gas than people even think they are now. And the follower of the Iraqi affairs, the previous government did not invest the country's wealth properly, calling for the gas file to be given special importance during the coming period, especially that be a new resource for the Treasury. Now, and solve the energy crisis inside of Iraq, he believed. Iraq is in an urgent need to invest in gas in its field in order to maintain electrical energy, as Iraq still imports gas from Iran, calling for oil and electricity ministry to prepare a joint plan to provide large quantity of gas for the purpose of operating electrical stations. Iraq currently imports quantities of dry gas from its neighbor Iran, run gas-fired power plants, according to a U.S. diplomat source. U.S. government did announce that they did announce. Now, cue up the bomb. Hit number 2. I told you guys that a squeeze play that was going on right now. I just told you that they had 73 fields of gas that they are not harvesting and that they're buying dry gas from Iran. Now, the last time they got an extension from Iran, they got it for 120 days. Now, guess how long they got their extension for?
How long?
45 days.
Ooh.
Hit the bombs. Number 2. 45 days. That happened on what date?
What day? Tell me.
How many likes do we have?
I don't know.
I want to know how many likes we have.
Okay. Okay.
I'm a diva.
I know.
A divo.
I know. I got too many things going open. I can't reset. I have to close the screen after that. It's over 100. I told you that earlier. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
150.
Awesome. Good job. Keep them likes coming, y'all. Love it. Keep the energy flowing. Good job. Guess when it came? Around February 12th. When did Alawi take position as being the new head of the PM position? Around February 1st. So guess what? He's 12 days in the hole for an oil and gas negotiation. If he doesn't secure the bag for the oil and gas position, guess what?
What?
That country's going to experience rolling blackouts for 20 hours a day. They won't be able to operate the oil fields. They won't be able to generate any money. They won't be able to do a damn thing. That country will be basically stagnant. It will be stopped. You can hit number 2 again now. So when people tell me that, Mr. Brando, you're not excited, Mr. Brando, you're not happy about what's going on, I am ecstatic. And you know what? You can thank your president for these bombs because he laid it out. The only thing I'm doing is just repeating what he said. Get what I'm saying? They don't have a choice but to put this man in office by the 24th. That only leaves him a few days to the 28th, which is the end of the month, which only leaves him to another 12 days, which is 30 days on his reprimand. And guess what? It's only 10 more, or I think 10 or 15 more days until guess what? Your oil and gas deal with Iran is gone. And now you don't have a safety net being Honeywell, which was supposed to be the person that was supposed to be harvesting your natural gas and continuing your future. You can hit number 2 again now. And I will continue. A source close to the Prime Minister designate confirmed on Tuesday that the latter did not inform anyone of the names of his ministers in the new government booth, indicating that he had connected 22 candidates for the ministers, including 2 defense and 2 interior ministers. Do you guys not see what I'm saying? All these reports out there about he did it with these people, he did it with these people. This guy did it with nobody. No one. He only did this by himself. And you know what? I said this to Patreon the other day. I'm going to say it to you, YouTube. See, you can't fault the system. Because this is what you got to work with. If I'm playing cards and I'm playing poker, I got these cards in front of me. I got to play the cards I'm dealt with. I can't play the cards I want because I wasn't dealt those cards. See, you can sit here and wish and whine and whatever about this and that, but you know what? I'm going to play the hand I'm dealt. I'm going to deal with the information that I have, and I'm going to make adjustments to my own position based upon my own understanding of the investment. So if I felt at this point that, you know what, it's a bad position, I would sell it if I was scared. Scary money goes to church.
It goes to church.
Oh yeah. Give it to God. You're not in it to be a hustler.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I don't care if you've been in 15 years or 15 minutes. That's the truth. Ask anybody who's been involved in anything. Scary money goes to church.
I've heard scary money don't make money. I've heard that one.
Nah, scary money goes to church. Give it to a priest.
Okay.
Now, the important thing to understand about what I'm saying to you is who is that?
Max Play.
Max Play. Shout out Max Play. Yeah, these bombs is for free. I'm giving y'all love, and I love the love back. I'm asking for likes, but y'all sending these dollars, feeling like a stripper.
Oh Lord!
Y'all gonna make me do these shows in a G-string.
You gonna run people away?
Nah, they gonna come flocking.
No, Waka Flocka. No. Okay.
I'm just joking. I would never do it. I'm too modest. I'm covering up now. Clutch my invisible pearls.
I cannot. Devo. Devo.
Let me finish this report, y'all. The source said in a statement that the names that were leaked and which were said to be part of the government formation are never correct. Alawi did not, has not, and will not name the closest people to him in the new government. Amongst the 22 ministers, there are a dozen names who either had interviews with him or contacts, especially for those outside of Iraq that are contacts to send CVs to him. CVs are basically what you would call their dossiers. A dossier basically is kind of like a resume, and just telling you about who you are.
Paul Marion.
Oh, Paul Marion! Shout out, Paul. Thank you, man.
A dossier is.
A dossier is kind of like your resume. You know what I mean? Who you are, where you're from, what you're doing, what businesses you have, your earnings. You know what I mean? It just gives your background. It's your color. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It enables people to understand where you are. Now, he added the cabinet has been completed, and there is no truth to the rumor in some media outlet that it consists of 16 ministers until now, or that has not been decided by security ministers, which are the defense and interior. You can hit a bomb. His cabinet is done. It's in judiciary. They're just waiting for it to be affirmed. He's saying it should be done by the 24th. I'm telling you, if it's not done by the 24th, then there was a person that came up that did not pass the Integrity Commission. Stop saying it's a delay. It's the Integrity Commission. And you know what? They're trying to go back another name, and that person will pass, and then they'll go forward. They only have 4 more days after that, which is the month, for him to pass, which would be the whole month of February, and then 2 days in the next month. So do math, y'all. Think about this. I'm not here to be like a rah-rah person. I'm just a person to sit here and read the articles to you and tell you, look at the math. Can I get a number 2 on this? Now, let's talk about the weapons of all weapons. Natural gas is the country's new economic weapon, and so is their currency, because their currency is just as much as an economic weapon as their natural gas. Iraq has got to change its dependence from Iran to a means of survival. Being independent and being sovereign is simply being cut from the feed of Iranian natural gas. And with that, it would employ more Iraqis, and it would also be a true source of currency to fuel the deficit. I know you haven't heard that before, but they could simply cure the deficit by selling their natural gas, as well as fueling their own country, as well as powering the stations within the oil fields by harvesting their own natural gas through the Honeywell system or through the Russian system that already tried to make a play for it, by simply cutting off Iran. Can I get number 2 on that? Parliamentary Economy and Investment Committee revealed today, Wednesday, that a percentage of importing goods during the past month had decreased by 40%, indicating that Iraq was importing goods at a rate of 99% from neighboring countries during the last period. Now listen to this, guys. This is so important. They were importing everything about almost 100% from everybody else. That has decreased by 40%. They have just accumulated trade dollars by almost 50%. Oh, Bethany, thank you, Bethany. It's funny that, Patreon always see the value in these nuggets of wisdom. It's always funny.
She loves the background, too.
Oh, thank you. I love this background. They decreased what they imported. Do you know what that means? They're changing the balance of trade within their own country. And when people tell me, well, the stranglehold in Iran is vast and they're just killing them. Guess what, morons? Not you guys, because you guys listen to me. But those other people that listen to those other sites, guess what? It just decreased by 50%. So I called that one too. I'm quarterbacking this one from a whole different plane. I'm getting a lot of this right. It's kind of funny. Can I get a number 2 on that one? And remember what I told you about agriculture a few shows ago. Remembering the big game for the country was supposed to be agricultural and electrical. So now you're seeing gains by 40%. The political parties that were standing in the way of the local product for the reason related and economic organization by those parties is now gone. Gone. And you know what they're talking about? Soleimani and Mohandas. Those organizational benefits are gone. And I told you this. So now the balance of trade is different because you're not dependent on one person connecting you to another, which is Iraq to Iran, which is Soleimani and Mohandas. I told you guys this. The ministers of finance and oil and the governor of Mahandi are required to indicate the mechanism in which they were given money and the oil to Kurdistan as the region percentages of the budget reach more than 25%. Hold on, hit a bomb right there. I'll read that one more time. The ministries of Al-Mahandi are required to indicate the mechanism through which they were given money to the oil to the Kurdistan region as the region percentage of the budget reached more than 25%. Hold on, I thought they never reached, what was that, 12.5%. So how did the Kurdistan region get 25% of the Iraqi budget? That's a bomb. No one's mentioned that. No one's talked about that.
No one?
How did Kurds get 25% of the Iraqi budget?
No one?
No one. Not a soul. Just me. Little me. And I'll tell you why. You know why?
Why?
Because they have to pacify them for one complete year to make them give them that 250,000 barrels a year. Mm-hmm. It's called trust. Mm. Remember, if we're going to be partners in something, we got to give a little trust.
Trust.
Abadi was not the most trustful soul. Neither was Maliki. They screwed the Kurds.
Right.
Mahandi did one smart thing. He made the Kurds like him, and then he gave them deals. And then guess what?
What?
In his downfall for killing those protesters, it's the only place in the world he can run. Because, see, people don't know this about Mahandi. He's really a French nationalist. He can't even go back to France. Because if he can, he'll be tried under crimes against humanity in France for what he did to those protesters. The only place in the world he can run, the only corner, is guess where?
Where?
You can give me a bomb on this one. Not yet!
Come on with it. Come on with it.
How many likes I got?
I don't know.
How many likes I got?
Child, I got trying to find stuff in the chat and do that. Come on. Tell it.
They're going to tell you the Kurdistan region. Because he gave them the deal. He put them in the game. I told you guys the Kurds were kingmakers. I told you guys that a year ago. The Kurds are kingmakers. The Kurds are sitting on the national, them in Basra, man. Them in Basra. If you ain't all into Basra and the Kurdistan region, man, you are not into this investment. That's why when everybody said, well, everybody's not there. And when I looked up and saw that there were like almost 70 members of the Kurdistan members in parliament, I was like, the Kurds are on it. They represent the smallest percentage of parliament members, but they had the biggest percentage represented in the new government for Al-Mahdi to pass. And you know why?
Why?
Because they got a lot to gain and a lot to lose. 25% of the budget of Iraq going to the Kurdistan region?
Hey, Mr. B, I heard April they are enforcing the currency manipulation.
No. The currency manipulation law was enforced on the day we posted it.
February 15th.
For February 15th GMT. No, it's February 14th GMT. You can quote me on that.
And that was for everybody.
Everybody. That was law affect everybody. China, everybody. And to quote me on that, someone said, well, that only means they got to buy more goods. Well, you should read the whole trade agreement, wherever your name was, because in that currency manipulation. So go read your facts before you quote me. Now, another thing about that was that people got to understand 146 countries are abided by that trade agreement. And guess what? So if you don't play by the trade agreement and someone put tariffs on your trade goods, guess what? You are obliged to pay by it because you know why? The WTO is crippled. There is no more WTO. You can give me number 2 on that. Can I get back to Iraq?
Go for it.
So with all the huffing and puffing about the Kurds, we're actually getting about 25% of the previous budget. That's why we now know they are ready for the second phase, which in my opinion now, this is opinion. You can't say this because I'm saying now I'm throwing a little sprinkle of opinion. People always ask me my opinion. This is my opinion. This is why Article 140 actually can work because they have a baseline. They knew how much, if you took how many billions of dollars Iraq took in oil revenues and they gave it to the Kurds, 25% overall to the budget. They can definitely afford Article 140 for a one-time payment, and they are planning that on the percentage of barrels per oil per day to $60 to $70, and they know they can afford it. So that means they obviously now are planning on paying off the HCL. See, these factors also threaten to further delay lending, undermine recent position of the government efforts, especially in electricity and agricultural sectors, creating appropriate fiscal space for programs to promote growth and the prerequisite for diversification and the job creation, which the large increase in oil production would mean little for most Iraqis. Get it? They just told you. That statement right there by somebody else is totally not true. We know that they have had major gains in agriculture because that went up by almost 40%. We also know that electricity is going to gain because natural gas sector is going to gain because they only have like 30 to 45 days to change the way they do natural gas. So that which large increases in the production of oil being $60 to $70 per barrel per oil, that means clearly they're making ways for an oil revenue sharing program apparent with the addition of natural or liquid gas. Please.
Brando, so how long do you think before they stop using temporary budgets?
Until this the new PM is elected and the new cabinet is seated. Then the budget's going to go. I'm going to get to that in this report. Then that's going to go to that new PM. They're going to tear that budget apart and they're going to redo it. Okay, let me keep going here, guys. Iran will not support the removal of U.S. forces from Iraq. Okay? Simply put, it says, the advisor of the Arab Center of Strategic Studies confirmed today, Sunday, Iran's keenness not to push forward for the removal of the American forces from Iraq, indicating that it does not want to do so in order not to lose the dollar currency in the Iraq gate. In the event that Washington imposes sanctions against Iraq with the results of the forces of the withdrawal of the forces. I don't need to read any more. I already said that 100 times. You can give me bombs on that. I'm done. I told you guys. But the real play for Iran is not dollars. It's converting that currency into euros. You know why? Because the United States is not looking for them to do that. They're looking for them to try to convert that currency into dollars so that they can go hell-bent after them because that would violate the sanctions. You see what I'm saying? But converting that into euros and then demanding that they make that market open to them, that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You can see that play from a mile away. I mean, you got to understand where they're coming from. They're starving. They're dying over there. Like they're Iraq, Lebanon, and Iran, man. I'm telling you, the protests are real. Okay? Washington was angry at the slow progress of Iraq in signing the deal with major American energy companies and moving away from Iran. While sources in Baghdad and Washington described a split in American policy where the White House has shown a willingness to intensify pressure on Iraq while others demand flexibility. They slowed oil payments from the Federal Reserve. This is a classic squeeze play. We hold their money and without the U.S. approval, they cannot get to their own oil revenues, and we are shutting down their ability to buy Iranian gas and think they're going to let the new PM situation go to the next month without a new budget and without a PM and without a gas. I think not. You can hit bombs on that. There is no doubt that the currency is of a great importance as the main trading tool that requires full confidence in a state of currency. He called to guarantee confidence in the currency that the state monopolizes to the right to issue its currency, and that is and was and continues to be the crimes of counterfeiting the currency and the ages in which money was known of serious crimes that affect the state final reputation. Okay? Now, understand this. It is an attack on the sovereignty of the state and the right to coin, okay, its currency because it undermines confidence of the official currency and its inability to lead to a decrease of the value of the official currency in circulation. Now, they just said it leads to the right to coin the currency. And so if they forgerize that currency, it undermines the currency that is current in circulation. The current currency. Can I get a bomb?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I get some love?
I'm sorry. I was loving on Daisy.
They just told you. They just told it all. You can't have coins in circulation without there being a value to their currency. Counterfeiting currency, which drives them to get rid of it when dealing with it, which extends the crime department to include a larger group of individuals of the Criminal Code number 11 of 1969, as the amended Article 306 has been imprisoned for a period not exceeding 1 year, or a fine for any person who does not accept the valid national currency in circulation legally as it is nominal value, either metallic or paper. That's a newly amended law, basically. Hey, Bran.
Who said that?
Oh, it's my dad. That's my dad. He just heard that. He says, hey, I just heard your text. My dad's 870 something, sorry.
78, right? 79? Yeah. Because he would have been the same age as my dad.
Yeah. In other words, circulation of the obligatory law for the people to accept the state currency in transaction, that is, currency trading, has become mandatory and does not depend on individual's choice if he wishes before. The right to refuse to deal with it in the counterfeiting currency offenses include all manifestations attacking public trust and the main punishment for falsifying. Now, here's the important part. And the Iraqi lawmakers impose a prison sentence of no more than 7 years for anyone who manufactures or owns money, lender, machine, tools, or other things which use to counterfeit, forge, or counterfeit paper currency or metallic currency.
What's metallic currency?
Coins. Coins.
Coins.
Why are you making safeguards against something that doesn't exist? Can I get number 2 on that? Why are you making safeguards against something that does not exist?
Breaker of chain says, so this about over.
Yeah. And you know what, y'all? I ain't done yet. How many likes I got? I ain't done yet. I got more bombs. If I don't get 800 likes, I ain't doing a show next Wednesday.
People.
I don't care. There's gonna be.
You got 192 likes. I got some questions, but they're Vietnam related.
Listen, if this show don't get 800 likes, I ain't doing a show next Wednesday. I'm not even. Okay. Look, I'm showing y'all this.
Okay.
I ain't done yet.
But I got questions.
Go ahead.
So.
I'm ready for anything.
Are you ready for anything?
Anything.
Are you ready for anything?
Anything. Bring it.
Dong or dinar first?
I mean, that's interesting. Because if you look at it from the standpoint that The Iraqi dinar, with this government going into play, the very first thing this new government has to do is give short-term financial gains to the Iraqi public to make those protests stop. Now, on the other hand, you got the dong sitting there with this virus, right? This virus is a hindrance because those people can't move from China over to Vietnam, but you got this trade embargo that's in enforcement that says you've got to do these things. And if you don't, right? Think about Apple. Like, you made a very valid point last night. I think that's probably why I couldn't sleep. Y'all don't understand this. I woke up like 3 o'clock this morning, sat in my chair, and it bugged me all night. You make a very valid point. Do you think Apple's going to stop their coin because of a virus? No. Apple's bigger than a virus. Do you see what I'm saying? This could make them move their factories. This could make somebody like a Qualcomm or make somebody like a Samsung. It can make somebody like a big manufacturer move out of China because something like this. You see what I'm saying? And their inability to deal with it, besides shutting down the internet, shutting down the whole country, and without being able to deal with it. So you could see the dong rising in value because you saw gains of the yuan against the dollar. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to see gains happen. How much, how fast, how soon? It kind of depends on how fast and how well they deal with this virus, in my opinion. This is purely opinion. And I'm not a financial advisor, and don't take my advice as financial advice.
Well, can I speak on it?
Sure, give a retort.
Because first quarter is kind of shot for Apple. If my thought is because they've shut down the factory, right?
Right.
And until they can quarantine or get a hold of this coronavirus, they're kind of done. March is right around the corner. Q1 is a wrap, right? So Vietnam is not that far from China.
But think about this. Not just, I'll give you an example. Not just Apple. Think Carnival. Carnival stocks.
That was all in my video.
I know, and you didn't, hold on. Shameless plug. If you don't go look at April Beebe's video on April Beebe's channel about this, then you're missing out on a whole discussion that she just had before this conversation that educated me about stuff I didn't know. So I had to go check the plug. So I'll let her. I'm sorry to interrupt. But go ahead.
Okay. So my thought is, one, for Apple, it would cost them money, but compared to the business that they would possibly lose to set up someplace else. And what place better than Vietnam?
Only
it's
place
not that far.
It's 1,500. It's 1,500 miles. 1,400 miles.
Right. So it's 1,500 miles basically.
Okay.
And that's equivalent to Houston, Texas, to San Diego, California. Mm-hmm. So they could possibly, if it got so bad in China, and if
the scenario is correct, right?
Well, and if they're allowed to relocate
and exit,
because here's the other thing:
they have a contract with that country.
But here's the other thing: when Carnival tried to enter Japan, they said thanks, no thanks.
Right.
So the people that are running the operation in China would probably be thanks, no thanks. Mm-hmm. Y'all can go back home, or y'all can stay in China. Mm-hmm. They would have to send over a whole new crew to Vietnam if they were to open a new operation. So that means new talent.
And I also think that just means the engineers coming from America going over to Vietnam.
Of course.
I don't think those engineers come from China. And I think that's where when people start thinking about, what would Apple do? I think Apple, if they were smart, they're already doing it. They're already looking for an alternative.
And then one of the things that major corporations often work on is a contingency plan. So
right.
Ever since 9/11, because I was hired by companies to do contingency plans for a while there after 9/11.
Right.
Is if this building were to collapse, where could we set up shop?
Right.
Someplace else.
Right.
So I would think a company like Apple would have some sort of contingency plan.
I would think so too.
Yeah.
How many likes we got?
I don't know. My other question before I go on was about the tariffs. When do you think Vietnam will get tariffs put on them?
That, I would say, I think they will probably give them between 30 to 45 days grace, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Because anybody will give you that time to get your act together. You know what I'm saying? That means reform, do whatever you got to do. So I'm not looking, and listen, I'm not a downer on them reforming their currency today.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I'm saying to you, even if Alawi takes office right now, secret vote, he's in, he's our new PM. His cabinet set, he's got a new CBI governor. That currency's not going to change like that.
Right.
It's going to take time. Remember what you told me about Donald Trump and his plan? You said, Brandon, you can't judge him by his plan on the first day of his
office.
of his first office, right? You can only judge him on 30 days. I think you said 90 days or 100 days.
His first 100 days.
No, you said 30, 100, and then something else. I forgot. But it was something like that, how they judge a politician on the job they're doing. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. I was down on him. You know, and I was down. And as it went on, it got better. I'm not saying it's going to take Alawi 100 days. What I'm saying to you is he has 100 hours to get it right for those protesters, or those protesters are going to go nuts.
Well, and let me say this about Trump, because he wasn't a politician, it took people longer to buy in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no one bought in. And if you look at, he entered the office in 2017. 2017 fared fairly well, especially when you look at it in the lines of the stock market. 2018 it went in the toilet. And they said, a recession is looming, I think it took people a while to get on board, to see what he was doing, to see the tax cuts, how he was implementing things, because like I've always said, Trump runs the country like a business. So I think it just took people time to adjust their thought process, because they're so used to politicians. And now you see these stock markets thriving at all-time highs that they've never seen in the history, period. So there was something. Jug Jones basically says, are we finished or are we done next month, or are we done or we finish?
I mean, you didn't listen to the report, because I gave you a whole timeline about gas. I gave you a whole timeline about election. I gave you a whole timeline about, let me answer that question like this, Jug, and not to treat it like a bad question. Mm-hmm. If they don't elect this PM, then they don't have anybody besides Saleh to try to negotiate a new oil and gas exemption with the United States. What do you think is going to happen? That country's going to go through rolling blackouts. There's going to be cut off of energy. You already have escalation protests, and you also have killing of protests going on right now. So you tell me, are we finished or are we done? Somebody tell me, are we finished or are we done? Because it's all about the revolution and about how many lives can be lost before something's done to correct the behavior. What you encourage, how does that saying go? What you endure, you encourage. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to sit back and let them do what they're doing, they're going to do what they've done. But now they're going to have the problem of, guess what? You ain't going to have any lights to do it with. There ain't going to be no party. There ain't going to be no DJs. There ain't going to be no drinking. There ain't going to be no, I meet this woman in the square, I fall in love. All that's over. Now you're going to be doing it with the lights off, in the fires, in the pit, and with no lights. So I don't know.
And then James asked the question, why haven't we seen the price of Dawn go up?
Because you haven't seen the yuan make major gains yet. That's easy.
And that's kind of been I think the common question. I think someone else asked that too.
Until the big dog moves, the little dogs ain't gonna move. Why would they? They're not forced to yet. You got to see the market shift before you'll see the market shift. The sub-market shift. That's why it's called a sub-market or an exotic.
What's the holdup with the RV? Is it China? Yeah. So that was the Vietnam question. Somebody said they like your shirt.
Oh, thank you. You guys see my shirt my wife bought me? I'm not going to read it. Since everybody says I am anyway. Yeah, you can give me a bomb on that one too. You guys want me to finish this report?
Go ahead.
How many likes we got?
You got 3,000.
I'm not doing it. I'm done.
Dad, you said you wanted a whole bunch of likes. You got them. Hold on.
I gotta give him the rest.
Lisa Peaches asked how much longer.
I answered that.
Okay. Are their Kurds okay with the new government?
Yes, very much so. So much so they almost set their whole the Kurdish Union there with the subgroup. The two groups were almost whole there with allowing, or 35 out of the 70 were there to vote for him for the new government. So yeah.
James said you got 232 likes.
All right, let's finish this.
And then Jug says, two concerns I'm worried with: the IQD, electricity, and international trade.
Well, listen to this. Electricity can be solved with them just harvesting that natural gas, which we know that Honeywell's there to do right now. International trade, I'm getting to right now. Can I get a bomb on that one right there? Because that's a great question to segue. That's called a segue. That's great. I'm reading all about film. That's a segue. Regarding the case of exemption of punishment. Oh, we already did that one. The ISX is key to our major private sector growth. Executive Director of the Iraqi Stock Exchange stressed the need to disclose the financial facilities.
You. Sorry. Look, Jug appreciates you.
Thank you, Judge.
Jug.
Jug
Jones. That's the one who was asking you the question.
Oh, Jug. Thank you, Jug. That's a great question you asked, too. For his role in enhancing its value locally and internationally. Bomb on that one. Its capability, improving performance, and achieving its service of restrictive objectives, which are in case aimed at serving the national economy. National economy. They just told you the ISX is going to fuel the national economy. The real value. We have already shown the need to pay attention to the market value of shares and compare them with the real value and the equation calculated in accordance with the disclosure criteria, and most importantly, the interest in publishing and clarifying these values in the performance context of joint stock companies, which have become known as Arab International Information Investors or Investors Relations IR, as part of the responsibility, interest in banking performance of Iraqi banks, and the relationship with shareholders and investors. The central bank called on registered banks whose shares are traded on the Iraqi Stock Exchange to pay attention to the bank's website through the allocations of a window. According to the investor relationships, the website annually and quarterly reports are published. The analysis of financial statements in comparison to previous periods, as large as influential contributors, and the publication of analysis performance indicators, the decisions of meetings of bodies, as well as the number of the shares traded in their market value. Now, they're doing that now to tell people, watch us, we're doing this now within the region, okay? This is a development and disclosure mechanism, as most banks often implement the above paragraph, the one I just read, right? Above paragraph, and publish them in their annual report, which appears shortly before the meeting, almost historically report. At the moment when the importance of disclosing the paragraph is evident, the window becomes transparent, the guide and interest to the shareholders to inform them of the performance indicators when combined with stock market trading indicators, and a catalyst to attract foreign investors. How are you going to attract foreign investors in a closed market space? How? How?
No say.
How?
No say.
You can't. It's impossible.
Don't scream. Your mic is close to you. They can hear you. Where you got that mic position?
Right here. I just want to drop the mic. I do. I just want to go. How? Y'all, I can't make this stuff up. Man, it remains to be determined that the violation of the mechanism should not lead to the suspension of trading in the company's shares or the imposition of fines of the company itself, but rather to resort to an effective means of holding accountability to defaulters. The importance of the mechanism is disclosure and blocking the way to sites that promote to the unauthorized or non-licensed investments by sector or the capital market authority of Iraq, by inspiring the community with unreal investment opportunities and international exchanges that adopt transactions without minimum disclosure criteria. They're trying to tell you, we're trying to make our stock dividends and our securities international tradable and security bound buy insurance. We are abiding by the law. Successful economic experiments have left a global footprint, and they have been able to achieve sustainable development of the past that have adopted to reach the goal they seek and lead to a change in reality of the economy to a new stage better than it was. And many experience in a different continents of the world, and they cannot be hidden from everyone. Wait a minute. What did they just say? Can I get a number 2 on that one?
Number 2.
They're all number 2s. Successful economic experiments. This is all about the ISX, guys. Successful economic experiments have left a global footprint, and have been able to achieve sustainable development under the past that they have adopted to reach the goal they seek and lead to a change in reality of the economy to a new stage that was better than it was. And many experiences in different continents of the world and cannot be hidden from everyone. In search of the merits of this, we found that rapid action adopted in the bloc's developed economy is the secret success, and there is a great interrogation between the public-private, both of which perform the responsibilities to the fullest and very quickly without any complexity, as the public sector works to regulate the path of performance in form which meets the ambition of the entity that manages the economy and determines the private sector implementing the whole plan now. You can hate on these videos, but you can't hate on the news. You can hate on me all you want. I don't even care. I could stop now. And I got more.
Time is up.
How long have we been going?
It's 7:57. You got 3 minutes.
Okay, listen, y'all. I'm going to stop now. I'll stop right now. And you know why?
Sylvan said, what will the transition look like between reinstatement and banks accepting?
It's instantaneous. Once you change your rate, it goes live as soon as it hits Swift. Okay. You know what, y'all? I'll stop right here. And while Miss BB's at work, I only have about another... Man, I'm sorry this report's so long.
You can just go live tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here and just have have your way with
Just
hit live.
All right, I'll give you any questions. I mean, y'all, if this don't get 800 likes, I need 5. That's what I need.
You're just the light king.
I am the light king. I need 500 likes before I go live tomorrow. I ain't doing it.
Okay, so will we have to pay taxes on the currency exchange?
Yes, and anybody who tells you that you don't is an idiot. I'll tell you that now. It's called capital gains, folks. If you make money on an asset or you make money on a stock or a crypto, you're going to pay taxes. Stop thinking you're not.
Steve-O says, save some for Patreon, darn it.
Oh, Steve-O. What I gave you that last Patreon is way better than this. This is the superficial. This is the easy stuff. I gave you the bits and the gravy on the last one. I gave you exactly how they did it. I skipped over. This is color. And I can give this to Patreon tomorrow if they want it. If Patreon gets in there to my ear tonight and tells me tomorrow, I'll do this for them tomorrow. This is the level of what do they call that? Investigation reporting that I do for them. But I did this report long because it was just so interesting when you start diving into this. And I haven't even hit the real value. I haven't even hit the market strategy, trading position. Man, I got bomb after bomb. They laid it out. And I can still hit the counterterrorism position from the United States government. I didn't hit that either. I was saving that for Patreon. Join Patreon, by the way. Join my Patreon because it's probably the most insightful, in-depth, and I'm not tooting my own horn because it's real. Yeah, and join my wife's channel if you want to learn about stocks. I'm not great at it. She's absolutely wonderful at it. I'm sorry. and she's good at the crypto game. And make fun of her if you don't like her if you want to. But you know what?
Doug Jones is so funny. Okay, he goes, question: did we pay taxes on buying currency? So why do we pay taxes on it when it goes up? Well, think about this. Wait a minute. Think about this, Judd. Why do we pay taxes on anything? Anything we hold, we pay taxes.
And taxes technically aren't legal. The whole founding reason for this country was no taxation. Think about it.
Well, I mean,
income tax, property tax.
I'm not even gonna go down that rabbit hole. Pay your taxes, pay your fare, pay like you weigh, because you don't want to wind up in jail. Okay?
Don't be Wesley Snipes. Don't be Wesley Snipes.
Don't be anybody.
Don't be Wesley Snipes.
Don't be anybody. Be yourself. Pay your taxes.
Please pay them.
So this country, we are tax upon tax upon tax. You can pay taxes for something in the store. If you place it in a business, guess what? You tax on it again. So that's just how life works.
But you ain't taxed like you are in Russia, and you're not taxed like you are in Korea, and you're not taxed like you are in Vietnam. So you know what? Thank your lucky DNA stars, if you're an American, that you are taxed the way you are, that you can retain your wealth, that you have time to make money, that you know what? You're in these channels, you have freedom of speech, freedom to bear your arms, breathe this free air, make your money, and have a chance to invest in these markets. That's what we should be thankful to pay these taxes.
Wait, Judge Jones, you must be in Cali, right? Because if you're in Cali, I feel you on the taxes. But go to a state where you don't have taxes.
Come to Texas.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Go to Texas, Arizona. You don't pay state taxes, but you're going to pay it on property. So if you buy a house, you're going to pay it.
My property tax is sick.
But anyway, but yeah, the state of California, you pay taxes in your payroll. You pay taxes everywhere. You turn the corner, you're going to pay taxes. But anyway.
So, what? And you know what we will do? We will pick this up tomorrow. We'll call this the Thursday show. I'll figure out a time. I'll come up with a thumbnail. I'll cut this short. Miss BB's right. Show ran too long. I need like at least 800 likes on this one. I'm dead serious. My Patreon gonna go nuts. I'm giving y'all too much. They gonna kill me. Stream up from a tree. You're gonna be like, Mr. Brando, man, you giving them all the bizoms.
He likes giving out all the bizoms.
I'm giving you love because you know what? You gave me love. And when I get love, I give it back. You know what?
Daisy downstairs running amok.
Amok. And I love it.
Background, it's your color. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, what did I just do?
I really appreciate y'all, man. We've been gone. We've been doing this. So tomorrow I'll finish up the show. Can't hold you no longer. Hey, babe, you want to say goodnight?
Oh, good night, y'all.
Can we cut it off from here? I got to step up there.
You gotta get up there.
I can get up there.
The
Y'all get to see how skinny I am. Look, I lost weight. Look, skinny.
Give him a like. Give him a like.
Look how skinny I am. And yes, you know I got polo on my feet.
Hit the like. Hit the like.
North Face on my body. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, they don't want to see all that. Good night,
All right,
y'all.
baby. Love you, man. All right, man.
Come
Good night.
on. Turn that off.